Hey guys, it's Natalie and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be discussing my thoughts on the Percy Jackson series by Rick Riordan, which I reread in October, and I didn't get a chance to talk about my thoughts about each individual book in my October wrap-up video, so I thought I would cover that today and talk about what I liked and didn't like about each individual book, tell you guys my rating and everything like that. So let's just get right into it. So this past October, something just compelled me to reread the Percy Jackson series. I kind of wanted another fun, lighthearted adventure series to get into because I'm halfway through the Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children series, and the 5th book doesn't come out until January, so I kind of wanted a fun adventure series to tide me over until the 5th book came out. So I decided to reread the Percy Jackson series. It was just sitting on my shelf, and I haven't read it in a long time, so I don't really remember too much about the intricacies of each book, so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna reread it, and I had a lot of fun doing it. For those of you who have never gotten into the Percy Jackson series and don't really know what it's about, or you didn't watch the movie or anything like that, it basically follows the story of a boy named Percy Jackson, and he discovers one day that he's not like the other kids, and that's because his father is Poseidon. So this kind of follows Percy Jackson and his friends' adventures, like to the underworld and to Olympus, and just they go on a bunch of different adventures. There's a lot of fun characters, there's a lot of mythology interwoven into the books, and it's just a really good time. So let's just get right into each book. So the first book in the series is obviously The Lightning Thief, which is the most popular one because it got made into a movie, and so this one's probably the most talked about in all of the books in the series. And so I gave this one a 4-star rating because it was a lot of fun and I really enjoyed it, and this one just felt so familiar and nostalgic because this is like the start of the story. So I really enjoyed this. The only thing I wish about this book and pretty much all the books in the Percy Jackson series is I wish that they were a little bit older, and that's because I feel like it's more realistic for me to imagine older teenagers like taking on like these big crazy adventures with like these bloodthirsty gods and all these things like that. So I don't know, I just thought it would be better if they were aged up a little bit. Obviously I'm not the target demographic for these books, but I just feel like it would be so much better if Percy Jackson was maybe like 18 or something like that, and he was already starting his life and about to like step out into the world, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, I'm the son of Poseidon, and then he goes to Camp Half-Blood, and I feel like that would be a lot more reasonable, or like maybe start him at like freshman year or something like that and work his way up instead of starting at like 6th grade and working it up. So I don't really know, I just wish they were aged up a little bit, but other than that I really liked this book, and it was one of my favorites to read in the series, obviously because it's the first one, it's the start of the series, and you get introduced to everything. So yeah, that's the first one. So the second book in the Percy Jackson series is The Sea of Monsters, and this one is probably the shortest one in the series. This one's only about 280 or so pages, and the other ones are at least 300. So this one's really short, and I gave this book a 3-star rating because this was my least favorite book in the entire series because it didn't feel so much as a milestone in the series as it did like a stepping stone. Like, I feel like this book was not 100% necessary in order to carry the series, and I think the purpose of this book was for Percy to realize his powers and also to introduce another character, which I'm not going to say, but I feel like the entire purpose of this book was to introduce that character and have him bond with Percy. So I don't know, I just didn't really love this one, and in the beginning everything is just going wrong for Percy, and you kind of just get like frustrated for him because everything's going wrong, and it's just like, I know that makes room for it to get better throughout the book, but I was just kind of like pissed off in the beginning of this book because Camp Half-Blood wasn't the same, people were being mean to Percy, and I was just over it. So I'd say this is my least favorite book in the series. It just didn't feel 100% necessary, so yeah. So the third book in the Percy Jackson series is The Titan's Curse, and this one took me a little bit to like really get into it because I really wasn't like feeling it at first, but the more I read it, like the easier it got for me to like it. And I really enjoyed this one. I gave it a 4-star rating because I feel like this book kind of picked up the slack where The Sea of Monsters kind of failed. So I feel like this one kind of pulled the weight a little bit. So yeah, I gave this one 4 stars. It introduces a lot of new characters, and there's a lot of like female characters that are like very like independent, and so I really appreciate that about this book. This is probably the most like I'm gonna say feminist book in the Percy Jackson series because there's like a lot of like badass women in it. So yeah, really like The Titan's Curse. Gave this one a 4 stars. I don't really have anything else other to say about it, but yeah. So the 4th book in the Percy Jackson series is The Battle of the Labyrinth, and this one takes place in a labyrinth, obviously, and I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the ins and outs of the labyrinth and all of the things that the author came up with to put in the labyrinth. And although it mostly takes place in the labyrinth in the book, it wasn't uninteresting or anything like that. I kind of felt myself slipping into a reading slump while I was reading Battle of the Labyrinth though, so I listened to half of this on audiobook because I literally could not force myself to like open the book and read the words, so I listened to half of this on audiobook. So this one did take a little bit longer for me to read because I did feel like I was going to be in a reading slump. So yeah, I gave this one 4 stars. It was good. I really enjoyed it and I liked The Labyrinth a lot. So the last book in the Percy Jackson series is The Last Olympian, and I gave this one 4.5 out of 5 stars. I probably liked this one the most in the whole series because it was so satisfying. It tied up all the loose ends, it answered all the questions. I also really enjoyed all the battle and the battle strategy that happened in this book, and it happens in all the books, but this one more so, and they like fight more things and more things in abundance, and they like strategize and everything like that. So I thought that was really interesting, and there's also like a map included in this one. So I really enjoyed this one because it was just ultimately satisfying and I enjoyed the battle. So yeah, that's my thoughts on The Last Olympian. I really liked this one. I listened to a little bit of this on audiobook because, like I said, I was kind of falling into a reading slump when I read Battle of the Labyrinth. So I decided to listen to this one a little bit on audiobook. So yeah. So if I had to rank the books best to worst, I'd say The Last Olympian's my favorite, then The Lightning Thief, then The Battle of the Labyrinth, then The Titan's Curse, then The Sea of Monsters. So the ending was a lot better for me and at the beginning, but like the middle was where it kind of like slowed down a little bit and just like the traction was like So I don't know, overall I really enjoyed rereading the Percy Jackson series. I had a lot of fun and it's so lighthearted and it's got a lot of great friendship and mythology that's really interesting, and I learned some things about mythology that I didn't know before. So this is a lot of fun and I really enjoyed it, and I think it's one of those classic childhood series that you can go back to over and over again because it's always going to be good every time. So yeah, I highly recommend you reread the Percy Jackson series or read it if you haven't read it already because it's just a lot of fun. And yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching this video. Leave a like and subscribe down below and hit the notification bell if you don't want to miss a single upload. And let me know if you've read the Percy Jackson series or if you plan on rereading it anytime soon. And have a great day. Bye!